let me tell you my story a little bit. I am originally from Italy. I've been living in Barcelona, in Germany, in Sweden, in different countries in Europe. And then I moved in China, 2014. Before doing that, I actually started my very first, let's say, own business experience, but it was a non-profit organization. I was just doing a digital nomad and blogging around. So for around 1 year, I've been having my own blog, and I realized there what it takes to actually start your own thing, and also started to learn how to manage remotely a team, even though there was no money involved, there was no payment, nothing like that. But it actually gave me a good opportunity to learn how to manage remotely my guys. When I was in China, I've been working for those big Amazon sellers for 2 years in-house. I was the marketing director, and I realized that I could just do a better living just by doing this by myself and building an agency and consulting. So in 2016, I left the job, and there was the wake-up call. I got actually laid off by my employer, and they said, we're not going to continue with the contract. I mean, I knew that, but I didn't expect that it would come so soon. They were restructuring everything. You know, they were trying to give you all the different excuses, but that was really a blessing. The last employer I worked with, I actually learned how to manage a big team. I was managing 5 different teams for a total of around 40 people. And that actually gave me the opportunity of learning how to manage people. So I started my own digital marketing agency in Hong Kong, and it's a properly registered company in Hong Kong. So I pay my taxes in Hong Kong, even though I'm almost never there. I've been living in Hong Kong for 2 years, but even when I was living in Hong Kong, I was always traveling. I was spending 2 weeks in Hong Kong and then 2 weeks in Thailand, in the Philippines, in Korea, Vietnam, wherever. I was going back to Italy. I was going to meet clients in Germany, in Europe, somewhere else in China, everywhere. And I'm used to pretty much work from anywhere since 2016, since the end of 2016. And this is my life. This is what I do. I just need a laptop, a good internet connection, a good place to stay, a coffee shop, a beach, and then I can just do my work. And I would say that actually for having a startup and a company completely remote, I am not doing bad. And, you know, the income is good. The income is there. It's much better than I could do with a director level work in China in an international company. So I definitely suggest, and I definitely encourage anyone who wants to do that to just start your own business online. Because as someone said before, I think Adrian was that, who said it, you can be yourself. You should be yourself. And this is actually a great opportunity for you right now. Just quit whatever you're doing for someone else and just start being yourself. And even if it's not for the money, just do it for yourself. You will be so grateful. And as Delia was saying before, you can just work from anywhere. And if that's not enough, I mean, for the money, it's enough for the freedom, because you often will see that your own time is much more valuable than the money itself. It just gives you a much bigger satisfaction. So I'm gonna share with you around 10 or 11 tips that I was writing down just a few hours ago, because I didn't want to make some slides. I didn't have time. This was a kind of last minute. Chris told us like 2 days ago, and I'm like super
Yep.
right now, because I'm having like 2 or 3 different businesses. And at the same time, I'm trying to provide sourcing facilitation between buyers and suppliers for medical devices. This is something new that just happened because the demand is so high. So we know so many suppliers in China, we can just naturally do that. And this is something that anyone who's working online and is flexible can do. You can adapt yourself to the situation. You can make online money with anything pretty much. The first tip I'm gonna give you is make it a routine, or it's never gonna work. Your work from remote, work online is never gonna work if you don't make it a routine. This means that I learned that I was gonna get productive only if I was forcing myself to wake up at 8 in the morning or 8:30. It's like if you have to go to the office. You have to force yourself, you have to put yourself into this routine, or you're not gonna make it. Don't think that just because you're gonna work online, you can wake up at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. and you're not gonna work. You have to be productive. You have to, push yourself, and you have to work for a certain amount of hours, especially if it's the first year of your startup or your business. And this is just gonna give you a lot of benefit. You have to make it a routine and learn how to manage your time and get productive. I actually was looking by chance today a video on YouTube, not on YouTube, it was on LinkedIn, and there was Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk. Even he was saying that he was against home working before because he said that it was so unproductive, and now because he's forced to do that, he actually likes it. So you can actually get more productive. I'm a kind of person that for example, I never go work in co-working spaces. And this is something probably very different from what anyone else can tell you in a digital nomad, summit or even webinar, because people love working in co-working space. I don't do that because if there are too many people around me, if I have too many stimuli, I can't focus. I need to be alone in a coffee shop or in my house, and I need to focus. I listen to music and I can't talk too much with other people because I need to focus. I need to be productive. I'm really serious with that. The second thing I want to tell you is you need to create or choose the right environment. It might be your house or an Airbnb where you're staying. And for the right environment, I don't just mean having a good internet connection and having a laptop that works, but you need to have, for me, for example, this is what works. If I choose a house, if I'm living wherever, I've been living 2 years in Hong Kong and now I live pretty much in my house in Phuket, but I've been living in Bangkok and in so many other places for more than 3 or 4 months. I was living in Seoul, South Korea in the past year. And even when I choose a place to stay for at least 1 or 2 weeks on Airbnb anywhere else in the world, I always look at the same thing. Does it have a room with enough natural light? Because I like to have natural light. Does it have good internet connection? If you don't have good internet connection, then you're going to use your hotspot. And that's not the best thing, because sometimes you want to do like video calls like this, or you need to download big files and it's not going to work. Or if you work with Amazon, you need to upload stuff or load your campaign manager. It's going to take a lot of time. So you need to have good internet connection, and you want the place to be in a nice spot of the city. You want to have probably a swimming pool or some gym because you want to keep yourself active. So this is everything that I look at. And also when it comes to the place selection, because I literally change my place every 2 weeks. Not right now because I'm isolating myself in Phuket, but normally I change my place every 2 weeks. So you have to look at those things. And also learn how to fly cheap using Skyscanner or other websites. So choose your environment and do the right decision when it comes to your financing. The next thing that I want to tell you is learn and understand that you are always on holiday, but you're never on holiday. This is the typical entrepreneur mindset. This means that you virtually have to work every day, and you're never really working at the same time, because someone said, if you're working for your own thing, it doesn't really feel like working because you do things that you love. And I completely agree with that. You don't need an alarm to wake up because your passion wakes you up every day. It was literally like this. Sometimes I was waking up at 6 a.m. and answering phone messages on WeChat, on WhatsApp, whatever, from clients, from partners. And I was doing it very willingly. I was waking up even earlier than I had set up my alarm. Now it doesn't work like this because I have my system set up that gives me money. So I love it. I don't need to push myself too much. Now, if you ask me how many hours I work every day, it's 4 to 5 or 6 hours. It depends on how many projects I have, but I have my system. I hired my guys and they do something for me. But before, you have to struggle. You have to build your own system. Have this entrepreneurial mindset and you will get there. If you've never done it before, you will get there. But love what you do and let your passion take over. The next is work on your personal branding and connect with people who are in the same industry. And you have to start building a whole ecosystem of leads or income. So when I talk about personal branding, I literally talk about what people think about you. Personal branding, when you're working for yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, when you are online, remote, working from home, is the most important thing, because people, like someone said before, want to work with you because that's you. As I always say to some of my colleagues, so I have a digital marketing agency. We do consulting for Amazon sellers, pretty much like Chris. But I do believe that 90% of my clients work with me because they want to work with me, because they share the way that I look at the world, that I look at this kind of business. Because I didn't really develop any complicated sales funnel. My sales funnel is quite easy. I will tell you later maybe how it works, but I never really go looking actively for clients. They all come to me, and they're not so many, but they're very selected. And I know that when someone is coming, they are 50% closed already. So I don't have a huge amount of clients, but I have just a handful of clients. And I always try to make the best for me and for them. I really like what Adrian said before. It's not about me, it's about them. You have to make a proposal, you have to understand what they're looking for, and then you can close the deal. This is how you actually make business, even if you have never met that person. I remember that my best client ever, they found me on LinkedIn. They tried to talk to me for 1 week. They sent me an email. The email went on the spam folder. I didn't have time to look at the spam folder. And then they were calling me because I had this client on my portfolio that is a huge Chinese company. And they wanted to work with me because I've been doing marketing for this Chinese company. And they were trying to get in touch with me. And this was actually the best client I've ever had. We started working for 3 months. After 3 months, I flew from Hong Kong to Europe for my Christmas vacation. And then from Italy, I flew to Germany in Berlin to meet them. So we met once. We've been working for 2 years. And the other 90% of my clients, I've never met them. So those people are sending me money, but they never met me. So this is possible. This can happen, actually. When I talk about a whole ecosystem, I'm talking about find different ways to make income, to generate income. If you own a place and you live in that place, or even if you rent a place, you can use Airbnb when you're traveling, so you can make extra income with that place because you're renting another place when you're traveling. But people rent your place, so you actually make some money to pay that thing back. If you can set this thing, I actually do it all the time because this is my actual house. So when I don't live here, people rent this place for me. And you can also make extra income by trading if you have time to understand that. So I trade stock, I trade cryptocurrency. Right now it's really bad for cryptocurrency, but maybe you can buy something. But this is a way to make money. It's some lead, some side lead. And when I talk about personal brand, really connect with people who can help you. I remember that one of my best personal branding boost was when I started doing podcasts with Danny McMillan, for example, for Seller Session, that we know is also a speaker in this kind of industry. So connect with those people, show them that you have something different. And when I did my podcast with him, my website had a huge spike of visits, and then I started having a lot of requests, and my articles on my blog were shared on a lot of different groups, etc. So connect with people and try to give a unique perspective of this industry from yourself. The next thing is build and track your sales funnel. You really want to keep track of where your leads are coming from. Now, I did a little track, like a client tracking file. It's just a very easy thing that I did on Excel. So I was tracking how many of them were coming from LinkedIn or from a referral, from another website, from a conference, from an offline event, or from WeChat. I used to have a lot of leads from China coming from WeChat because I was living in China, actually. Actually, WeChat was actually a very good instrument to find people to work with me. We can talk about that a little bit later. I'll tell you how I actually hired my guys. So keep track, because you want to be able to understand where your money is coming from, where you have to put most effort. If it's coming from, for example, from a freelancing website, or if it's coming from an online or offline event, or from some of your friends, or if you have a website, you want to know where they're coming from. And I was also writing how much each client was paying me and if they made problems or not. And for example, surprisingly, most of the problems are coming from referrals. Why referrals? Because when people refer you to someone, then you have expectation, and sometimes those expectations go beyond what's the reality. But instead, if they come from a website or from a very particular sales funnel, then the expectations are different. Then another suggestion that I want to give you is make the right decision on where to cut and where to add, where to spend. For example, for me, the decision was strategic to set up a company in Hong Kong. I wanted to have a company registered in Hong Kong. I wanted to pay my taxes in Hong Kong. I am resident in Hong Kong right now. So I have all my documents in Hong Kong because I wanted to have a proper, for example, business account somewhere in the world under a company name. So you have to decide whether you want to do like this or you want to keep everything online, for example, with a Neat or a Pioneer account. You can do both ways. Try to make everything clear and respect the rules of the country where you're resident, and this is going to be good for you, especially if you're starting to move big amount of money. And that was my case, but I'm resident in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is actually very good if you're a digital nomad because you don't need to be always in Hong Kong. And if you spend even $100 or $10 on a dinner in Thailand or in Italy, you can pay your taxes. You can declare that as a company expense in Hong Kong. So that's really good. So know your taxes, know your documents, and then get ready for that. Regarding the team, I like to keep it small, functional, very flexible, very lean, and necessary. So I always hire the people that I need when I need them, and all of them are project-based, so that I minimize my cost and I maximize my income. I don't have any full-time unless they have to operate constantly on Amazon accounts, for example. But if I have some gigs like creating a video or making some pictures or translating content, then you can hire freelancer. And then if you like them, you keep them, you keep sending them job. And I think that this is the best way actually to have a good job done, because you trust them, they trust you, you can have a better payment, and you actually don't need to do so many revisions because you trust those people. So it's very important, and it's also very important how you select the people. Here we come again with trust. And for me, I learned that actually, trust your gut when it comes to selecting people. This might sound kind of strange or complicated, but I remember I had to select, for example, an IT manager, because I'm not an IT guy. I can do some web design, but when it comes to manipulating code or stuff like that, it's very complicated for me. I'm more of a marketing guy. So I remember that the guy who actually manages my website, I never met him for 1 year, and I gave him in his hands my entire website. That was pretty much my principal source of income, and I never met this guy. So I took a big risk, but I went on several interviews, and this guy was the guy that owned the phone. I thought I could trust because I liked the way he was talking. It was like me, like no bullshit. I'm not trying to sell you bullshit like that. So I really liked this guy. I was finding empathy with this guy, and then I said, okay, let's get it on. And actually, 30% or 50% of the people who have been working with me, I never met them in person, but I did my best to fly wherever they were and meet them for some reason. And it's actually something really good. And another guy, for example, after he's been working with me for more than a year, he got a very good job in another city in China, and he was referred by me. And this was for other people. So this online thing actually works if you start believing in that and if you start doing that. I'm almost done. Connect on a personal level and provide empathy. I was reading somewhere today that the lack of communication is one of the primary drivers of low productivity. And this is so true. If you have a remote team, they're not gonna perform if they don't understand what you're telling them, unless they're really dumb and they really do it on purpose, but that's another thing. But it can be your fault if you don't communicate well. So what I used to do before is I used to send long emails where I was explaining to them everything one by one. Now what I do is I either call or I record a video where I show them on a screen how to do that thing. And this is the best way for them to understand. You always have the case of the rotten apple, that guy who wants to work from home, wants to work freelance and doesn't want to do anything, and then they do everything on the last minute. You always have that case. It's everywhere. It's even in the office. But you can start recognizing that before, when you have some experience, or you just remove them, you just fire them and you get a new one. But give clear instruction to your guys, make some videos, record. It takes you like 5 minutes. I know that it's a very hard step, because before I didn't want to do that step. I didn't want to record my face, record my voice and show my guys how I had to do. But I recognized that actually if I started writing an email to each one, it was much longer. So you'd actually, if you switch to a new technology, it would actually save you a lot of time. So here we come again with technology. Learn your technology, learn how to use Zoom or different tools or managing softwares. For example, Chris said before Slack, or I don't remember which one else you were using. We also use a lot the cloud, Google Drive, Dropbox, etc., etc. Another thing that I want to tell you is test and learn often. If you're making your own company, your own strategies, you need to test different things. You're not always going to be lucky. Things will work, some other things will not work, some leads will be good, some leads will be terrible, will waste your time, but that's part of the game. And then next thing, the last thing I want to say is create your SOPs and make them work. SOP stays for standard operating procedures. So every time you onboard someone, whether it is a new client or a new guy that is working for you, or you are trying to approach someone, you need to have your standard operation procedures. You need to have a standardized email or video or welcome kit or whatever. And this actually makes everything easy. It's the same kind of template that Adrian was saying before. And I believe that actually setting up those things will actually make everything much easier. So yeah, this is the way that I live and work for the past years, 4 years almost, and I think I love it. I'm never gonna go back to the offline office job.
Same.
This is my experience.
Nice, man. That was good stuff. I kept my duties as the secretary of this meeting up and took some notes on that. So that was great. I'll share some of these. I totally agree that with just to zoom in, recording videos is such an effective way to communicate when you're working remotely, whether you're managing a team or a part of a team. I use Loom. It's a great, awesome tool, Loom. Really, really fast, really efficient. You can record a 2-minute video, 3-minute video, shows your face and your screen. You share a link to the person, they get the video immediately. And I totally agree. It's way, way better than those long form emails. So yeah, lots of gold in there, man. That's great. I'm going to post all these links and all these notes in the group after this.